Now, the fourth capital budgeting technique we're going to talk about now, this is called the payback technique. And with payback now, this is defined as the firm's initial investment in the project divided by the cash flow per year. This is a very, very common capital budgeting technique, widely used by small businesses. Everyone tends to kind of understand payback, and because of that, it's used a lot. Virtually any capital budgeting report you're going to do always include payback. If you don't, one of the first questions is always going to be, well, what's the payback on this project? You don't want to have to start calculating things during a presentation. Go ahead and calculate it, put it in. Payback, finance people now, we don't use payback to make decisions, but it's always something you should put in a report. It's virtually always asked about if you don't. But it's defined as the initial investment divided by the cash flow per year. So if we had a project with a required investment of $100,000, and from that investment we thought we'd get $20,000 a year in additional cash flow, that means this project's payback would be 5 years. So what does payback tell us? Well, it tells us how long it takes a project to pay us back that initial investment that we make. All things being equal now, you'd like a payback on a project to be smaller, shorter, if you will, shorter time than a longer time period. So all things being equal, we'd rather this payback be 3 years rather than 5 years, and we'd rather it be 5 years than 9 years. Again, all things being equal, you'd like that number to be as small as possible. As a financial manager now, if you're going to use the payback technique, you would have to define the maximum payback you're willing to accept. How long are you willing to wait to get your money back? With this project, if you're only willing to wait 3 years to get your money back, then you'd reject this project, because you'd have to wait 5 years to get your money back with this project. On the other hand, if your maximum payback is 8 years, I'm willing to wait 8 years to get my money back, then you would accept this project. This becomes a key factor when you're using payback. How do you determine this? How do you get to this number? There is no kind of magic formula for this. It's just, kind of a non-quantitative kind of thing, a qualitative factor that you have to determine yourself. The other thing about payback, it doesn't use time value of money. So it doesn't recognize that this $20,000 cash flow I get 5 years from now or 8 years from now is going to be worth less than the $20,000 I get this year. No time value of money in the payback technique at all. And again, a very common technique. It's very easy to calculate, but you have to determine how long you're willing to wait, what's your maximum payback, and there is no time value of money here. And it does not give you an indication of how you're satisfying the normative objective function of the financial manager, which is indeed to maximize shareholder wealth given some level of risk. But this is called the payback technique. Probably the most widely known capital budgeting technique, but for finance people, not something we really want to make a decision on. Now, in the next video now, we're going to talk about the modified internal rate of return. That's going to be the fifth capital budgeting technique that we talk about.